Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I don't know if you remember, there was a video, it was a news clip. It came out, it's got to be like 10, 15 years ago. There was a fire in an apartment complex and there was a woman and they had a clip of her and they said, well, aren't you going to go back in and get your stuff or something like that? And she says, ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. And it became a meme. Everybody would talk about it. And that's what I'm thinking of in terms of what we're talking about today, partly what we're talking about, and that's aging and what people perceive aging to be. And I know this person would say, anybody got time for aging? I got more important things to worry about. She is Debbie Peters. She is the owner of Pathways for Wellness, Spiritual and Addiction. She's a recovery coach, a coach in general, and so much more. And she's fantastic. Debbie, welcome back. How are you?
Hi, Steve. I'm very good. Thank you. And you?
Good. And the reason I started with I ain't got time for that, the aging thing, because you have a new logo and it centers around aging. Can we see that?
Sure. So I will show you. I don't know if you can see it. I'll read it to you. It says, I have too much to accomplish in my life. I do not have time to age. With the infinity sign. And I have my t-shirts as well.
Yep.
And the logo's on the back, which
gotcha.
I'm not a big fan of logos on the front. So these logos are on the back.
Well, you know what? It makes somebody think when they see that, because what's the first thing you see? Typically, somebody's walking up to you and they're reading the shirt and then, then they see the logo in the back. But the whole aging thing, it's a different world than it was 40, 30 years ago, where you're cracking 65 around there. It's like, I'm going to retire. And that's it. No, because of advances in medical technology, we're living later in life. We're enjoying later in life. And I will say this, if you believe in astrology, there's a thing called and I'm not big into it, but I study everything. It's called the second return. And it typically takes place between age 57 and 61, where it is essentially your new life. You are reborn again, whether you're realizing it or not. It could be your life circumstance makes you reborn and go in another direction. And the same thing happens to you right around age 30-ish, 28 to 32 or somewhere around there. We're different now. 60 is the new 40 and all of that. I know you're feeling that, in terms of age-wise, where we got stuff to accomplish, right?
That's yes. I raised my family. I was fortunate enough to be home for most of their childhood. So I got my college degree after I was 50. And I have friends of mine that are like getting ready to retire. And for years I've said I'm living to 110. And people say to me, 110, you're not going to be able to get around. And I said, who said that? There are so many people now, if you look on the news media and, they're celebrating their 100th birthday or their 105th birthday. And when you read about how, what has motivated them, it's having a sense of humor, it's being happy, it's being grateful. And genes, I'm sure, do have part of, have something to do with that. Mm-hmm. But I believe it's also a mindset. I'm trying to think of how I want to explain this, because I was reading a quote where a couple of people said, something similar to whatever you believe you can achieve. And then there are people who don't agree with that. I'm kind of like in the middle, because I think if you work on something and you tell yourself, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm grateful, you do believe that. We've said this before, our brains are so complicated and so intricate and amazing and fascinating. And I believe that people, have the right to be healthy, happy, but sometimes it's hard to get to that stage.
But I do believe
If
it's a
that makes
mindset.
sense.
I do believe it's a mindset. If you, even if you're having challenges, if you believe that you can overcome those challenges, you probably can. And I'm learning more about manifesting. And it's simply put, you are what you believe. You are what you think. So if you think you can't do something,
You're
you
not going to do it.
no. And it's not even just the universe blocking you. It's you blocking you because subconsciously you're telling yourself that you can't do it. So you're going to derail yourself and make it so you can't because your subconscious doesn't know right from wrong. So if you say, example, I'm never going to make money. How am I want that car. I'm not going to be able to afford that car. How am I going to do that? Your subconscious is hearing, don't afford car, don't afford car. It doesn't know the difference. So what's it going to do? It's going to make it so you can't do it. And you don't even know you're going to do it. You're going to make yourself not be able to do it. You're going to go to that job interview that's going to be so fantastic and basically screw it up because you told yourself to screw it
Stuff
up.
you're not going to.
Yeah. You don't even know you're
And
doing
it's
it.
not, and you know, it, because I've been reading a lot about this recently. And it's not easy. It's not like, oh, you know, if you do steps 1 through 10 or 1 2 3, you know, in a week, this is how you're going to feel, and this is what you're, you know, what you're going to be like.
Right.
It takes a lot of work, but if you put the work into it. So I remember, when I was in real estate, one of my mentors had said to me, if you do the work, the results will follow. So not concentrating on your outcome, but just doing what you have to do,
Hmm.
and not worrying, trying to let go of fear,
Yep.
and the results will follow. Um,
Have you ever heard this, Debbie? When you find your passion in life, call it your purpose in life, and you're doing it, now let's say as a job, the money follows because you're doing what you were supposed to do. You're in alignment with yourself, and then the other pieces just fall into place.
yeah, I agree with that. You know, there are people out there that I'm sure will probably disagree, but I can't stress enough, because again, when I ran my 3-hour intensive outpatient groups, and we talked about just trying to let go of certain things that you really have no control over, and
Mm.
just kind of, you know, acknowledge that thought, that feeling, and just sit with it and not react to it. That half the things, number one, we worry about
Yep.
don't even come true.
Yep.
And you know, another saying that I came across the other day is like, less is more. So, you know, say for instance, someone wants to make a 6-figure income, and, you know, so the more you have, the more you're going to want. So you're still living, you know, you could still be living paycheck to paycheck if you're making 100, you know, $1,000, or, you know, a bit bigger of a 6-figure income, but you know, you have more expensive cars, more expensive insurance,
Mm-hmm.
bigger house, bigger electric bills. So in reality, you're really not, does that make sense? You know, you're not
Totally. Totally.
making more, because you're, the more you want, you know, the more you have, the more you want.
Everything is
So
relative. So you look at somebody who's uber wealthy, millions of dollars. Well, where we're just saying, you know, I'd like to buy that. I want to buy lunch today, cup of coffee. I don't know if I can afford it. They're looking at, well, you know what? I need gas for my boat, and it's gonna, you know, I just want to. I'm gonna tool around for one day, and it's gonna cost me $800. Yeah, it's everything is relative, and it goes back. Big song in the '90s. It sampled Diana Ross's "I'm Coming Out," and the song is called "More Money, More Problems." There you go.
yeah, I'm one to agree with that. Again, you know, as we
Yeah.
talk, there are people that are not going to agree with everything, and that's fine. Um, one of my, you know, firm beliefs is, you know, just like you set a foundation to have a discussion with someone, to be open-minded, to be
Mm.
non-judgmental, because everyone is entitled, to their thoughts, feelings, beliefs. Not everybody is going to be on the same page. Because if we
Sure.
were, we'd all be walking around. I mean, life would be so dull and boring if we were all happy, we were all living, in this wonderful, I got this world, whether you have money or not. So I treat people with the utmost respect. Um, you know, we are, as humans, we do judge, but I feel it's important too, like, to catch yourself, because a lot of times,
Mhm.
when you're judging something or someone, if you step back and say, wait a minute here, usually what you're thinking is totally opposite. So,
Yeah.
not that, because you can't stop. I don't believe you can stop certain things, because it's just how we've been brought up and we've been conditioned. But to just stop and recognize, being grateful, having gratitude for something. Um, I recently had surgery, and just being able, instead of taking a bath, which I'm not a fan of, I like to take a shower. And knowing when you could take a shower and just have that water
Oh yeah.
run, it's like, and I'm like, wow, this is something to be grateful for. Um, it's the simplest little things.
It
So,
is. And you know what? Once you start the path of being grateful, I need to practice it more. I should be keeping a journal. I never get around to doing it, but it's been proven by many, many people that it makes such a difference. But I did it today. I'm not even kidding. I picked up a cup of coffee on the way into work and I thought to myself, man, this tastes good. And I'm
that's
grateful for having that first thing in the morning. It's my little $3.14 me to me. And I don't it's not even about the caffeine. I drink decaf. It's more about the pleasure, the flavor, starting your day by treating yourself. And I'm grateful for it. I know it sounds crazy, but even on a day where it's 82 degrees in the morning, it's still a warm cup of coffee. I kind of like it. And I'm grateful for that. And even the little things. And it's funny, I'll share. This morning I got up, was going to go to the gym, planned to go later in the day, never made it. Um, I was going to read a book about manifesting on my back deck, and the cushions were all wet. It rained last night. So I go in my garage and I set up a beach chair and I just sat down in the middle of the garage. And I'm like, I don't care who drives by. And I'm reading my book. And then I looked up and I said to myself, I could be in the middle of the woods somewhere upstate. We're in New York, upstate New York. As long as I'm happy, that's all that matters. I don't care anymore. That's all that matters. Being joyful and being happy. And that would be fine for me. I could probably work somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and that would be all right. Or throw me in a Caribbean island. That would be good too. But it's it's not it's not about what you have. It's about what you have. And here's the great example. Look at all the people that win millions of dollars in the lottery. All of them. I would say
yes.
90% of them. Go look it up. What are they doing now? Where are they at now? Most of them are miserable and almost penniless
Hmm.
because it
It's
all
true.
just went away. It went away.
Or sadly, they got involved with drugs and alcohol,
Yeah.
or again, that they thought that money was going to fill some sort of void that they had, that
Yep.
sadly they took their own life. um
Yes.
and you're absolutely right. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
um and I think, for people who struggle with that, they maybe they feel that they don't deserve to be happy, or they don't deserve to be
Mm.
loved. I mean, that could go back from something, that some sort of trauma from when they were, in their childhood, or even as an adult.
Sure.
um but everybody has it in them to be able to turn that around. And it takes work, and talking to a coach, talking to a therapist, reaching out for help is a sign of strength. It's not a
Mm.
sign of weakness. And, sadly, so many people think that, or the judgment that goes along with it.
Yeah.
As a addiction recovery coach, it's not clinical. So I'm not diagnosing, I'm not prescribing anything. Confidentiality, is huge. But some individuals may not want that stigma of being diagnosed, with a substance use disorder because of everything that comes along with it. And I know in the past, because we're kind of going all over, but I know in the past we've talked about, how words matter,
Yep.
and, identifying people and not letting your, your illness or your disability define who you are. And I am so compassionate about that, because I just see so many people. I have family members, that struggle, and I just try to help them. I try to support people and give them options and ideas. What does happiness look like to you? What does, where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself? What are the important things? And a lot of times too, just listening, because there are people out there that nobody has ever listened to them. They were shut down, shut out.
Mm.
So they turn to substances to self-medicate to feel better because they feel alone, they're not included. And sadly, that turns into an addiction. I've sat with people, and I'll never forget, this one person said to me, and he was in tears, and he said, no one has ever listened to me. And that's all he wanted and needed. And I was trying to not show, and get teary-eyed as well, but it was just so profound that
Oh,
people just need to be heard and
how
and
sad.
understood. So
And an impartial, because then there is no judgment. Like you go to a friend, can I just talk to you? Yeah, yeah, friend's going to say yes, but are they really going to maybe listen to you? Maybe not. Where you did and you do. Um, and in doing so, I'm sure you can pull things out of somebody or just recognize certain things that have been missing, or even what their true purpose in life is. Let's say somebody's an accountant and that's what they're doing, but they drop a hint that they also have a passion for uh, construction or design work or something like that, and they never did it. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Your life is too short.
right, and then you come up, you collaborate, you help someone realize, okay, so maybe you don't, maybe, the, like you were saying, being an accountant is what you do full time, but you're passionate about construction. So, what could you do, to take some time to maybe do a project? Not necessarily go and quit being an accountant if that's
Sure.
paying your bills, but how can you incorporate something that you're passionate about into your present life? And it could be, again, it could be making a birdhouse. It could be finding someone that, I don't know, needs a railing, and you want to just volunteer your time to put something up that, something for somebody who has a disability. And that's where, I feel too, like when talking to people, they don't, it's like when you're in a mindset and you feel stuck, it's beneficial. Like because I try not to say need. Sometimes I do, but I forget. But it would be beneficial to talk to someone to figure out, okay, what are solutions to a challenge? And I try not to say problems, because problems are like, what's again, we talk about how words matter. If somebody's got a problem, that's like, oh, just hearing it, I feel like, oh my God, there's this weight on my
It's
shoulder.
negative. Yes, sure.
So, and I'm not saying I never say that, but I try to be more mindful, of the words that I use, and discuss, discuss solutions, and what do certain, what does your life look like, if you were happy? And it does. It's, again, everything takes time, but it's worth it. And everybody's worth it. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to
Yes.
be loved. You just, it, I can't say enough
Somebody
about
somebody
that.
said this to me recently, and it kind of caught my attention, is that we are here to be happy, fulfilled, joyful, just live a wonderful life. And if you're not doing that, something is not right. And you need to figure out what it is, maybe with the help of somebody like you. But we're not here to be miserable. We're here to learn, yes, but also have a fantastic life. And it's, I gotta believe it's, and I do, as I go further in my journey and learn more and more about all of this manifestation, gratitude, everything we're talking about, that it can be done if you stay the course and you have faith. And I don't mean just faith religiously.
Right.
If that's your thing, that's fantastic. Faith in yourself, faith in the universe, whatever the universe you believe it to be, that it's going to support you if you find those things. And one of those things is your purpose. Why are you here? Why do you go to work every day? And there's nothing wrong. The guy, who is an accountant, that may be fine, paying the bills, but maybe there's something that that person could be doing that would make him feel great. Like you said, building birdhouses for a charity. And gosh, wow, I can't believe how great that felt. Um, I'm not making lots of money at it, maybe nothing, but I'm doing what I feel I was designed to do. And oh, by the way, I'm an accountant. I make some money and I take care of my family. But it's figuring that out. That's I guess, the challenge, where you can
Yeah.
help somebody as along the way as
Or,
well.
yeah, and also, like I was saying, people who feel that they're not deserving of being happy, getting past that and knowing that's like your birthright. Like you were saying, we weren't we're not here to be happy and miserable. And again, there are going to be people that totally disagree with that. That is fine. But when you finally realize that, like you were saying, your life's purpose, that doesn't necessarily, that could be, again, on a side job, just helping someone. It could be just smiling. Maybe you're here to make someone else feel better by just giving them a smile and not expecting anything in return.
Sure.
Um, it, so it doesn't have to be these grandiose things.
Exactly. What you just said, so important. You could be walking into a Starbucks and pass somebody and smile at them, and they could have been close to taking their life.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been that one, you were put there for that reason in that moment, and you might never even know what it was, but just that one smile and just say, hey, how's it going? Oh, good. Yeah. You could have changed your life. And we don't
Right.
know.
Right.
So,
Or if they are an individual that is miserable or not happy all of the time, sometimes people will not even recognize. Like if you see someone who has a smug look on their face or look like they're ready to, I don't know, just they just don't look happy. There are so many people that wouldn't even give that person the time of day of a smile because they're like, why should I? They look, they're grumpy. They look, they look mean. They look
mhm.
nasty. Whatever it is. But like you were saying, that one smile. I will say, this is so important though, is whatever you do, whether you smile, whether you hold the door for someone, say hello and you don't get a hello back, do not expect anything in return. When
Yeah.
you do something nice for someone, whether it's smiling, holding the door, saying hello, you do it without expectation.
Yep.
Because what happens is the minute you attach an expectation to that, so you hold the door for someone, they just walk through, they don't say thank you, they don't smile or whatever. And then you're like, what the heck did I just, hold that door? That person's miserable. They didn't even say thank you. Now you're taking that negative energy onto yourself.
Yep.
And now you're aggravated. So if you can't do it without expectation, don't do it at all, because you're just going to frustrate yourself and get yourself even more agitated.
Yeah, totally agree. It's like I always say, do the right thing. Don't expect anything in return, because I do believe if you do the right thing, good things are going to happen to you. Might not be at that moment where you held that door for somebody and, whatever, let them go. You're just, like you said, you're taking the energy on. And even that person that has the resting BIH face and they pass by you, maybe that's their face. Maybe they're having a bad day. Whatever it is, let it go.
My husband has often said that to me. When I am deep in thought, I must have this look on my face, because he'll say to me, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Nothing." And he's like, "It looks like you're ready to kill somebody." And I'm like, the look on your face. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
I would never even think that about you.
Well,
Like,
but it's so, and every once in a while, even my one son is like, "Mom, are you okay?" But I realize I'm so deep in thought that I am
yes,
not conscious of
right.
my facial expression. So who are they to judge me?
This is also true. I judge myself. If I take a picture with a bunch of people, hanging out over the weekend, we're all smiling, it's great. And sometimes there will be a picture, maybe it's posted or somebody shares it, and I'm like to the side, maybe in the background, and I'm like, but I'm fine. You're probably thinking, what I'm going to have for dinner at that moment. Who knows?
Yeah.
Debbie, how do we find you if somebody wants to really start a conversation, really start the change in their life? How does that begin with you?
My website is pathwaysforwellness.com. My email is info@pathwaysforwellness.com. And my phone is 631-926-2362. And I do give a free 15-minute discovery session, because again, I might not be the right fit for someone. If someone is, maybe there's someone who really is in need of medical attention. I want to make sure that, the person is comfortable, and I can't express enough, the confidentiality, just listening to someone, being genuine, and being there to support them on their journey. And I'm still on mine.
We all
But
are.
Yeah.
Life is a journey, but I know with you, two words resonate and they're in my head. I got to say them. No judgment. You don't judge anybody. You just hear what they're going through, hear what they have to say, and then maybe find something that they didn't realize in themselves. Different camera angle. I call it that. Different way of looking at things. Debbie, it's always great having you on here and talking with you.
Thank you, Steve. It was a pleasure.
And how does that go about the aging thing again?
I have too much to accomplish in my life. I do not have time to age. And my t-shirts and my mugs are on my site. So if you want to support that and get on the bandwagon.
I support that fully. And if you really knew how old I was, you'd know that.
Yeah.
All true. All right, Deb. Thanks a lot. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.